Welcome to this podcast, Holistic Creators, where we share our unique and universal stories about shaping the future for the 4 Ps: people, planet, purpose, and profit. My name is Swanette. I'm a mental coach and your host of this show. My intention for this show is to inspire you on your path to a holistic future. So welcome. Hello, and welcome to my podcast, Holistic Creators. My name is Swanette, and I'm your host. Today, my guest is Laria. She is a guide for leaders, a coach for coaches, and a healer for healers, assisting them in their full embodiment of presence and love. Through intuitive guidance, heart-centered energy transmissions, and sound healing, she guides way showers, thought leaders, and brave souls on the leading edge of consciousness to become masters of the enlightened heart and mind. Christina brings a wealth of experience of 30 years in both energy medicine and classical music, including many healing modalities, as well as credits at Carnegie Hall, CBS, and the Hallmark Channel. She is a pioneer of 3 modalities of energy healing: the heart field transmission, creation codes transmission, and unity field transmission. Christina's life mission is in service and devoting to the full awakening embodiment of humanity and freedom, joy, love, and peace. So welcome to my show.
Oh, thank you, Swanette. It's so good to be here. What an honor and a gift to be speaking with you today. Thank you.
Yeah, and it's also an honor for me to speak with you because I'm so curious, and I'm sure my audience is as well, as we see all these singing bowls behind you. So this is something like, oh, this is already attracting me. Let us know a little bit about like your own journey. Yeah, you have been in theater, in music, and in energy healing and sound healing. Let us know a little bit about what is your own transmission and your own journey.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's been really interesting. I feel like I've probably, like many of our listeners here, have had several lifetimes in one. It doesn't make sense to me to only do one at a time, it seems. So I began this one really focused on the arts, and my first dream was to be what we call a triple threat, which is the person who can be on Broadway and live theater productions that can sing, dance, and act. So I was very focused on that. It led me more then, as I went into higher education studies, into music, and I focused on that specifically. Became a classical soprano, and eventually moved also into conducting, choral conducting and orchestral conducting. Taught at university, and I was a voice teacher, among other things. And my students would frequently say to me, gosh, they're voice lessons, but with you, they're really life lessons. Because I had learned, the voice, as so many of us know, is such a powerful activator of energy, of our truth, of manifestation. And so it's no different in singing. I could teach technique all day long, but if a person had a limiting self-belief, or they didn't feel good enough, or they didn't want to be heard, there was really nothing that technique would do to help them. So that led me into really looking at the whole person. And at the same time, I was studying all these different consciousness teachings and healing modalities, and all of my extra time was going into that. And then I ended up, with one of those life crisis situations that we all frequently come to, which was, in my case, my teenage son had a lot of issues with addiction and crime, and he had been in, inpatient lockdown rehab twice by the time he was 16. And then he hung himself and he physically died. And then came back to life. And so that was kind of this big turning point in my life that did a couple of things. One was that it began an autoimmune disease in me about a year and a half later. And it's so typical for so many of us that trauma leads to disease in the body. And that's what happened for me. And some doctor told me I would have it forever and the symptoms would get worse over time and there was nothing we could do and we would just try to treat the symptoms. And I just thought, not for me. Nope, that's not my story. So that all really led me to, how can we make our life story different? What is it that's out there that no matter what's happened to us, no matter what challenges we've encountered, no matter how hard it's been, what is it that gets us free? And so that, coupled with my interest in music and in leading people, which I was doing, guiding people, which I was doing with singing, teaching, I became a life coach. and moved more into the healing arts, using music, the bowls behind me, the voice, as well as the energy to go with it. I personally didn't want to wait another 12 lifetimes to have my story be different. And I don't want that for my clients either. I feel like the people I work with are like, let's get to this now and let's actually shift it all the way down to the core. So it was these beautiful experiences of both blessing and challenge that really refined me and honed me into what I'm doing now. Yeah.
Wow, what an extraordinary story you're sharing. And yeah, sorry for this situation on the one hand that you had with your son, but on the other hand, it was really also, I would say, like this awakening moment for yourself to really go deeper, to get to know yourself.
Absolutely. I feel like even more than that, it's by design. I feel that my sense is that his and my soul, we chose all of that before we got here, in which case it's only for blessing. Yes, it's really challenging at the time. It was, the resulting PTSD from the whole situation that unfolded and all of the things that were really challenging. And yet I have no doubt that it was actually not at the personal level, but at the soul level of presence, a very intentional choice. And in which case it makes it all the more amazing that we would do that as humans, that we would come and choose these ridiculously challenging and painful experiences because we're actually up for it somehow, even though like my human was so not up for that. She was like, no, this is just the worst thing that could ever happen. See your son hanging dead. No, that's actually just not okay. And that's true at the human level. And yet, at the mystical level, it's so perfect. So that incredible alchemical joining and union of what we are as a person and as an eternal being, that's a thing that we're all doing here. I think we're all tremendously courageous, and I don't know anybody's story whose story isn't remarkable and has both deep challenge and blessing. Every single human I know this is what I see. So yeah, thank you. And it's beautiful, and he's doing really well now. He's 30 and he lives on his own and supports himself and is just this beautiful person. And yeah, so thank you.
Yeah, and I can imagine that, of course, a lot of listeners have their own stories in a different way. Like, for example, I had a near-death experience when I was 8 years old. Also, this was something that you don't want to have because it was really like seeing myself being there, like the human body and me, the soul, like all observing what was going on in hospital. And like from then on, I felt like, yeah, I have this duality, like this understanding that there's more like this, we would call like bio body. There's more, that there is a spirit that is with us. And yeah.
And what a gift. I mean, I can just feel as you're talking how you bring that to the work that you do and how that informs the guidance that you offer other people, because once you know something like that, you can't unknow it. We may forget or we may sort of go away from it for a little bit, but you can't unknow what you know. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah, and also like having this understanding that the worst part that could happen is death, but it is not. Yeah.
It is not. Oh, that's so good. That's total freedom right there. That is so, I just love that you said that, because really once you unhook from that one, you're actually free. Yeah, it feels like that to me is kind of the beginning of life. And so many people, gosh, I talk to, they're like, oh no, I'm not afraid of death. If I just don't want to suffer in a prolonged way. I feel like that's kind of the next learning curve for humans. Well, actually, I don't know. I can't say that. I think it's both. I think the fear of death is still largely driving let me feel into that, 68% of experience on the planet. Yeah, it's a big one, but that's a huge freedom to be on the other side of that and know that it's okay. It's so okay. We can't die. How many times have we died? We're still here. Yeah.
Especially being an old soul, we have been through a lot. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. coming back a little bit to your story, you said that you were teaching as a voice teacher, and there was on the one hand like teaching techniques, but on the other hand there was something that is more like self-consciousness or self-confidence or whatever word you want to use.
Yeah.
What do you think are people telling themselves that doesn't bring them into this fullest self-expression to show up on a stage or to show up in life?
Gosh, I love that question. Thank you. That's really, you've brought it right to something at the heart of so much work that I do, which is this relationship with self. And we all kind of know about it. Like, I think people have a lot of information about, yes, self-love is important and about the inner critic and all those sort of things. But what I find is there aren't very many people who are actually have found a way to have that not exist, the inner critic, which was part of my path, was actually to get completely, to not have one anymore. And so I know if I can do it, anybody can do it. And so that's really what's at the core of all of the self-consciousness or lack of confidence, is a perception of self of being not good enough or not worthy enough or not lovable or afraid if you're seen, you'll be hurt. All of those things come down to programs that we learn when we step into the body here on this planet. And we don't come in with them. When you're born and you're a baby and you're crying, maybe because you're hungry or you're wet, I haven't found anybody yet who goes, yes, had some awareness that I was such a bad baby because I needed something. Nobody comes in this way. We learn this, and we learn it. It's everywhere. Like in the airwaves, the same way that Wi-Fi is. Whether you are connected to your Wi-Fi or not, it's flying around in the air everywhere all the time. So whether or not you're even thinking a judgmental thought about yourself, that signal is everywhere around us. We're immersed and just soaking in it all of the time. So one thing I learned, for instance, was that when people judge others, they're frequently just noticing that person's judgment of themselves. Like if you look at it and you look at the way women frequently look at each other and they notice how they're dressed or how they look or how there's this or that. And there was one woman in a particular thing I was studying, and she had had all the plastic surgery. She looked like a doll. She didn't look very real. She had just been trying over and over and over to make herself into something that she would think of as beautiful. And at the end, the teacher asked the advanced group of us that were there. So she was gone along with a lot of other people, said, how many of you judge so-and-so? And almost every hand in the room went up. And I was looking, thinking, what is that? And then she said, well, did you judge her, or were you aware of her judgment of herself? And that really struck me as how pervasive it is and how aware we are of judgments of ourselves, of others. It's everywhere. So that thing asks to be deeply rerouted with a kind of self-love that is not through your mind. It's not saying affirmations. It's not only saying, I know that I'm lovable, I'm worthy, I'm beautiful, because that's the mind talking to the mind, and that's trying to solve the problem at the level it's created, and it just doesn't happen. So what I found in working with both the voice students and ultimately with clients is we must find our way into an embodied connection with our presence, whether you call that your soul or your higher self or your divinity. That is the aspect, the whole of us, that reroutes the relationship with the part, which is this person. I haven't met a human yet who isn't in need of that, or there's some that have maybe, I would say, mastered it. And yet I feel like people understand it, but don't know how to do it. So that's what I really love doing. I love actually bringing the energy and the information that helps people connect with their self in a loving way that's completely different. It's a game changer. Yeah, for me anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes when people share what they are telling themselves, like these judgments, you would never say this to another person. Yeah, but it's not something like this little voice, this monkey speaking to you, to yourself, like, no, look at you, no, you're not beautiful, and perhaps even I hate you, like, no, you will never make it. And if you think what is the frequency that comes with this? Yeah, so how can you shine while you're telling yourself that you are not worthy, or that you're not good enough, or that you will never be successful, or whatever it is that you're telling yourself. So I
Yeah,
think,
and go ahead. Yeah.
yeah, so I think that the frequency we send out with these words we're telling ourselves, we will also, like, bring these kind of people or these kind of circumstances into our reality.
Oh, absolutely. And that's where I find people are really living like of two minds inside themselves because they know that's not a good thing to say, or they know maybe that's not ultimately true, but they don't know how to stop doing it. You know, one of the things that I found really helpful was and lots of practices include mirror work, but you know, you pull just a little mirror and you summon forth notice this is so beautiful. When we do the inner critic, there's the part of us that's saying it, like in our head, that voice in our head that you just described, and there's the part that's actually receiving that information. We kind of have two aspects in us going on. And so pull up I call it the little one. It's usually, it feels like it's kind of a, you know, vulnerable little one looking into one eye in the mirror. And I would pull her, I would invoke her presence, the one that was receiving all this critical information. And I began loving her from the space of presence and saying, hey, how are you today? And just exactly as you said, Swanette, at first she was like, why would I even talk to you? You are so mean to me. All I know is I can't trust you and you're horrible. All you are is mean to me, and I try so hard to be everything that you want me to be, and you're so mean to me and I don't know why. And I started this relationship with this sweet little part in myself, and I repaired it day by day. And not just from talking from my mind, but really from opening up into a space of unconditional love in the heart, and that spacious presence that we all are at our core. And yeah, she was very appreciative of that. It became a beautiful thing instead of a painful one. Yeah.
Do you think that everybody is aware about these beliefs they have, or these sentences they speak to themselves?
Gosh, I'd be interested in your answer to that too, because the first thing that popped in my head was yes and no. I think they're like, if you asked them, they'd say, "Oh yeah, I basically hate myself." I actually heard a woman say that recently. I mean, I just hate myself, and they would acknowledge it perhaps, and yet not really grasp, like you said, what that vibration is doing, the destructiveness, the limitation, the pain, the creative power, actually. And I personally, I don't think there's anything wrong with any choice that we do ever. So being a really mean critic to yourself for your life, I don't find anything wrong with that. I just find it really painful. And if people don't know they have another option, they don't probably have it because they don't know it's there. So to bring that into a space of illumination and go, well, gosh, does that feel good? And exactly like you said, you would never allow anybody else to talk to you that way. We really must become our greatest advocate and beloved. We must become what we would like the world to, how we would like the world to treat us. That is all an inside job. And just like you said, when we change that inside, it totally outpictures differently. It starts, I remember when I did this path of really repairing this relationship, people just started loving on me. And like, why is everybody just loving? These people are so loving. And I thought, oh, well, that's the only thing I've been doing. And I've been 100% devoted to it. And I've been zero allowance of any horrible, mean, abusive inner behavior. And sure enough, the world started loving on me. It was amazing. Yeah, it's powerful. It's creative. Like we were saying, it creates. Yeah.
Yeah, so my idea to that is that some people are absolutely aware of their beliefs. So they are in the conscious mind, and they can see, because of the pattern they have or the behavior they have, that there is kind of this underlying belief.
Yeah.
But also I sometimes see that they are not aware of that. Especially, for example, when these beliefs are given over from one generation to the next one, if they are in the ancestral line. So, for example, in my situation, my grandmother has been in 2 world wars, my father has been in 1 world war. So there has been this pattern and this belief that the world is not fair, that you can't hold wealth because it will be destroyed, and also a belief that you have to take care of food. So my grandmother had like all her cellar full with food, like she cooked all the veggies and fruits, and had a freezer where you can put in a pig. And like my father as well, the storage area was always full. And I know that I'm getting a little bit, how can I say, nervous when my fridge is empty. So I know that there is this pattern of, not holding the wealth. I'm working on that. So it's now shifted, but also like there will be times when there is not enough food or resources. Also knowing about that. And I'm sure that other people as well have these kind of beliefs and pattern coming from their family lines that show up and that they are not aware of.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It feels like the very first step is a new perception, is a new perspective. And what I hear you talking about is we have to see what's at play. If we don't see it, again, it has so much power because it stays in the shadow realm. And when we see it, then we have choices, we have options of ways that we can be with that or notice. And I think there's like, as I'm listening to this is so fascinating because I'm really seeing all the different, what I would call dimensions, which are really just levels of vibrational information. And so like listening to you, we're talking about what's in the body, what's stored in the cellular memory, passed down through the DNA. We're talking about literally just patterns of behavior that are very sort of physical 3D things. We're talking about thoughts and beliefs, and those would be more what I would call in that fourth dimensional, the mental, the astral realm that includes the thoughts of the mind. And so again, when we look to really shift that, the first, I'm just so tracking with you, the first step would be perception and awareness. And what a gift is that, like that guide like you who comes and goes, are you noticing that there's actually something that you're operating by here you may not be aware of? There's not only, it's not just a critical voice, but it's literally like an entire, do we believe that life is benevolent, malevolent, or neutral? What's our relationship with the world that we're in? And beginning to look at that so that has new options of how we're with it is so powerful. Yeah. And then we move into the realm of, well, what really moves it beyond that? And to me, that always gets into the realm of unconditional love and the heart that we all are. It's such a bigger energy than anything else we bump up against or operate by. Yeah.
And I think a lot of people also share the belief that love is not safe, that love equals being hurt. And so they are not open to love themselves or love someone else.
Yeah. And actually, I just would love to acknowledge that humanly, that's absolutely true. Human love, which is all of us, myself included, we do conditional love. We just do, because we're in this body and we have all the things and pain and story and all the stuff. And when I talk about the healing power of love, to me, it's more like what we are, the fullness of what we are, because love with a little L, carries all, like you just said. Boy, that's not a safe zone really for lots and lots of people, or anything that you'd want to say, well, that's my sort of opening, my doorway to something way better. What if, it's like this. If we imagine sitting with a friend and we have something going on and we're telling them about it, and we're sharing, and they're there for us, and they listen, and there's no judgment, and there's no agenda. They don't need to fix or direct or change it in any way. They're just there. They don't go anywhere. They're not put off by if we need to cry or scream. They're just present. They're like, I'm here for you. if any of us have had an experience like that, we know that in that we feel loved, like in a very true way. There's no requirement of us. It's not conditional. So that is what I feel, to me, that version, that wholeness of unconditional love. No judgment, no agenda, no requirement, total presence, never leaving, always there. That heals. And that's actually at the core of what we are. That's for me, is that relationship that we can bring about. And there's my cat. It's that, do you want to come up and then not meow? No, he says, I'll sit right here. Oh, that's sweet. That's that relationship that we can learn to live, and it heals everything. That's my experience. Yeah. And it's not the love that hurt us in the first place. Yeah.
Yeah, what a place this earth would be if we were able to love in this way, and to not judge people because of whatever, skin color, nationality, whatever we use. And so just being there, holding the space for another one, and allowing this person to be in their fullest version as well. I think this would be an amazing place.
I do too. I often say, and when it begins with us, even, because if we were to have no more harsh thoughts in our heads, no more meanness, nothing but loving, gentle compassion, kindness, would there really be any conflict in the world? If every single person were just living that in themselves, would there really be war? Would there really be scarcity or competition if we all were embodying that? Which is what gets me excited, because I can't really do anything about anybody else. None of us can. We're not in charge of what anybody else is choosing, saying, doing. It can be very frustrating. And yet, when we realize the power of what we do inside of ourselves, that to me is very encouraging.
So I'm getting curious now. What kind of people are coming to you? So who are they, and what are kind of topics they bring with them?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I see that I have a lot of clients who are what I would call, I don't know, for lack of better words, sort of high-end service professionals, which might be doctors, lawyers, psychotherapists, these type of people. And then I also have a lot of clients who are people that are healers, way showers, thought leaders. They're coaches to other coaches, or, I mean, they're a coach. So I work with them. And what they come for, it varies. They either come knowing exactly what they want and what they're interested in, or they come having no idea why they're there, but the energy drew them and they just know this is their next step. So I have the people that are linearly left brain led. They come because they're stuck. They come because they know there's their next step for them, and they just feel it, but they don't know how to get there. They just know there's just something really good and really free and really beautiful. And I'm in my own way. I also have people who come to me because the folks who work with me know I don't enjoy a guru approach. What I love is that I know that every person I work with is the master that they're seeking, but they don't know how to connect with that mastery. And so I can be a bridge. I can be a reflector. I can listen to my clients at the level of their infinite wisdom and knowing and brilliance, and help bridge and connect that for them. And I needed that. I needed that from the people who guided and led me until I didn't. So I find that there are people who they have awareness of, maybe they've done a lot of things and nothing's worked yet. Maybe they've done the therapy. Maybe they've tried these healing modalities. Maybe they've done this and that, but they're kind of missing the piece that sets them all the way free. Yeah, that's what I tend to do. And it's so different. It'll be everybody from, there was a woman who guides other women who are in tech, like the IT industry, and that's a rarity. That's primarily a male field. And so she came to me and she said, I don't think I'm your ideal client. She goes, but I just know I need to work with you, because she was ready to get free from whatever her childhood story was that was keeping her from her true brilliance. And she didn't know how to do that. She knew what the childhood story was. She knew where the pain was, how it had impacted her, how the choices she made based on not being loved, not being safe, all those things. She just didn't know how to do anything about it. Yeah. So it varies, but it's an amazing and beautiful group of people who I feel like they're brave. They're brave and they know they're ready. And then they take off. Yeah.
Yeah, and it sounds like you're taking them very deep to the core, to their essence, to do this kind of transformation.
Yes. Yeah, it's kind of an all-in sort of thing. Yeah. I shouldn't say kind of. It's an all-in deep dive for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, but they also have to do the work. It's not like just magic.
No, it's not though. Gosh, I just did a 2-day healing immersion and a gal, and she's a therapist, and so she knows all the stuff, and she got all the way unhooked from a core, just terrifying childhood trauma, in 6 hours. So that's pretty good. Yeah.
Almost magic.
Oh, we'll call it almost. Yeah, but she was ready. She's done a lot of work, and it's really not about what I'm doing. It's about the other person. It's really about how ready are we and how willing. And it does require bravery, because the things that are these core pains and wounds in us and the stories that form from them, like you described so beautifully, from your lineage, when we really bump up against them, sometimes there's a depth of pain or fear that's so deep that we feel like if we go there, we won't make it. It'll be too much. And that's what the mind does to keep us just from that edge. That's been my experience. So for me, when I got to that point with myself, I remember saying, okay, so let's go. If I don't make it, I don't make it, but I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not doing how I've been doing it anymore. And as soon as I was ready to take that step, like it was in one of the Indiana Jones movies where there's this huge canyon and he says, no, just step on the bridge, but there's no bridge. But as soon as he steps out into the open air, the bridge appears. It's kind of a magic bridge, but he had to trust and take the step before you could even see it. That's what this level of transformation is like. You have to be willing to take a step that you don't know how it will be, but you're going, and you don't know how, but you just know you're going, and that's what you're doing. Yeah, it's beautiful. That kind of motivation and readiness. Whew, you're so powerful when you're like that. It's good. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've seen kind of these transformations inside of myself or in my own story as well. Like, sometimes it's like, okay, I know this old part ends here. I have no idea what will be the next one. I have this inner feeling, this intuition that is telling me now it's time to step onto this first step on this invisible bridge. And it will lead me to another place of my being, of even my environment. And so it's being there with this curiosity and openness and like, I want to know this. And I don't know how this is going to work out, but I will do the first step. There's no question about this. I will do that. And if you are in this energy, then it happens. It is something like there will come in synchronicities. There is something unfolding by itself, and like the universe is delivering. And so I think you really need to step into that.
Oh, you articulated that so beautifully. And then I was going to ask you a question, and then you kind of answered it. And I hear you saying it's that total willingness and courage that allows the universe to meet you with all of its gifts. And if you don't step toward it, it knows you're not choosing it. And it waits for us. It waits for us so respectfully and beautifully. And it's like, I'll wait for you forever. It unconditionally loves us, this universe. And yet when just like you said, when you just say, well, I don't know how, but that's what I'm doing, that signal allows, like you said, all those synchronicities, the blessings, the next step, the pieces, the way to be shown. Gosh, that's really exciting, isn't it? Because I feel like people's minds think we need to know the map. We need to know all the steps. We need to know how it's going to work out and have some sense of guarantee it'll be fine when we get there. And what I hear you and I talking about is that's too small of an energy. The mind is not big enough to carry this blessing that's coming your way. So you must just set that down and go, okay, I'm going. Yeah, that's so beautiful.
Yeah, and what you said, our mind is too small to really get that, because we can
Hmm.
only think what we already experienced or heard about or know about. So there's no way that we can create something that is even bigger and like expand our reality, as we have some kind of constructs. So
So good. Yeah. I'm just like enjoying the light show watching you talk about that. It's just so much brilliance and beautiful energy. Just yesterday, and then here's a synchronicity to go with. Just yesterday, I was talking to this friend of mine about our natural tendency when something's working well. And I think it was her phrasing was, well, because she has a good situation with this beautiful client of hers who's an ongoing thing in what she does. And the client is older, and she said, and if I don't know if she stops doing what she's doing or this or that happens, I'm screwed. And we both went, wait a minute, wait a minute. Why would you create that? I said, isn't this interesting that our mind says, if I don't have what I have right now, it will not be okay in the future. And I said, let's look back at our lives and let's see how much of our life is actually exactly how it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15, even in places that were really, really good, that we loved, everything was going well. Is it true that the only way it worked out for us is if that stayed exactly the same? It was just so obvious that, like you said so beautifully, well, it's too small because that's only based on what we know, and there's always more. And yet it's just this beautiful natural tendency of the mind to go, no, but I must hold on to this part that I know, and that's the only way that it works out. And it's just absolutely untrue. Yeah, it takes a beautiful leap of faith.
it's like, no, we have booked the 3-star hotel and the universe is standing there. Can I upgrade you to the 5-star? Can I upgrade you to the 5-star? No, 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 no. I don't know about this, and I don't want this part. I've never been there.
Yeah. Yeah. A friend of mine also would say, why settle only for what you want when the universe has so much more to give you? That is not something the mind can get. And again, we're just back to, well, then, and this was my question, and you named it as energy, and I would love to hear more what you see and know about that. What is it that allowed you in those junctures to take that step of faith when you said, I don't know how, but this is what I'm doing. I'm going this way. I choose this. Do you have a way to describe what it was at play for you in that made that possible?
I would say that it is like energy in my body. Like I feel this like kind of sparkling inside of me. There's this intuition that tells me I have to go there. And somehow it's even that I sometimes get visions, like I'm clairvoyant and precognitive. So I really get pictures that I can see the future in some way. And it's super attractive. And I just want to go there. And so it unfolds. And sometimes the time is not right. Like for me, when I first came here, where I'm living now, Madeira Island, I fell in love with this island. And I knew that one day I will live here. And then it took a little bit of time to really find this moment when my dog died, my mother died. I said, now is the time. I feel that I'm now free. And so I closed my business, sold my house, my horses, my car, everything just came with my suitcase, 3 cats and a laptop. And that's it. That was a restart. And I had this feeling and this longing inside of my body, like every time I saw something like a beach or palm trees or like beautiful fruits, it was like, oh, I could have them there. This is all what I could have there at the same time, like living there, working there, and having a balanced life. So I feel this as an energy inside of me. It's like this, pulsing, sparkling, and this intuition that comes in.
That is so beautiful. I love what you're tapping into, which is it's an energy, and you said this already, but now you described it so beautifully that it's bigger than your mind. The mind, we can tell the mind because it always feels a little when it comes in with its, well, what about this or that, or I should, or it has kind of a tightness to it. It has a little bit of a constriction, and this energy you're describing is open, and and also uplifting. And I love that you talked about it being a feeling. It's not a thought. It's either a feeling in your body, or it's a feeling of the energy, or it's an experience of, like, say, the precognitive thing, which is, again, not a thought. It's not something that logically arrives. It just drops in, and it gives you information, again, that's energy and what that feels like. And so what a beautiful guide for people to say, when you're looking to tap into how do you get past that place where, so that you can go forward, just know it's probably not going to be your mind, and it's going to feel like something else, and it's going to feel bigger and better than your mind. Yeah, that's beautiful. I mean, it's just so easy. Then you're like, wait, what does this feel like? Oh, it feels kind of a little fear-based, a little bit constrictive, a little bit, okay, that's probably not it. What else do I notice? Yeah. Yeah, it's a great guidance of how to tap into that. Yeah.
I think also that for a lot of people, stepping out of their comfort zone is, like you said, no, correlated to having fear or this insecurity. And for me, it's like, okay, I will stretch myself. I'm not in my comfort zone anymore, but I'm curious. I'm open. I want to become creative. And so this is a different kind of energy that comes with it.
Yeah, and I know too that that's so true for the brain. The brain, what feels safe and comfortable is what's familiar, as you were saying before, and how incredibly expansive it is for consciousness just to do things that you don't normally do, to step out of the regular, which is going to also be the comfortable, and how important that is. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's beautiful. Yeah. We're so powerful. We're so powerful, but we don't really know it. And it's in that way that the relationship that we have with our lives that makes us powerful, or more kind of, predictable, but also unsatisfying, to not stretch that way. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's interesting to see also, like, what were the comments of my friends, for example, when I decided to leave Germany. It's like, you're super brave. You don't know what is happening there. You had your safe life, your secure life there. You had everything. Like, no, it was kind of a jet set life. Everything that normal people would say, if you have done that, if you have that, everything is fine. You don't leave that behind. And for me, it was, yeah, okay, but this time has an end now for me. I can't even describe it why, but I'm sure it has.
Yeah.
So for most of the people, it was like, I'm kind of stupid or crazy to, go into a country where I don't know anybody, where I don't speak the language, where I don't have a house anymore, like just with, I said, a cat, a suitcase, and my laptop. And yeah, most of the people didn't understand that. And for me, looking back, it was absolutely the right decision. No question.
Yeah, I love that. I love what you're talking about, because I think it's true. I have lots and lots of friends who, I mean, I should say it's true in my experience as well, who that security and that predictability, that's really what they want. They're really not interested in even this thing that we're talking about at all. And I celebrate that, because I feel that's probably perfect for their lives and what they want and what they're about doing, their soul's experiences are having. It's all perfect. And I'm, of course, as you know, like you, Hawaii called me, and I never thought I would live on the Big Island. I always thought if I ever did land on Kauai, or on the islands, it would be Kauai. Kauai's in a sense the opposite of Hawaii, because it's the oldest island, no active volcanoes, very soft, nurturing, healing kinds of energy. And Big Island has 3 active volcanoes, and it's so much fire, and it's so much transformation, and it's so intense. And it called, and I went. I just said, okay. And it was similar, I got rid of everything, brought my cat, all my singing bowls, and my grand piano. But other than that, it was like everything else was negotiable or replaceable. And it was the same thing. It was an unfolding of following the knowing, and not really knowing why, but being clear that that was the next step. And so for those listening who feel that they are some of these brave souls that maybe nobody around you understands, and brave just because it's it bucks the status quo. I mean, every soul is brave coming onto this planet, honestly. But this particular kind of courage to say, okay, I'm not really going to do it the way that most humans are doing this. There's something different for me. Be encouraged, trust yourself, know that here's a couple examples sitting here going, it's fine. And it really is not only fine, it's wonderful and it works out. And you can trust yourself. If this is the type of thing pulling you and calling you, it's okay. And yes, you do have to let go. Gosh, I had this dream years before all of this happened. At the time I was married, and in this beautiful dream, we were all riding bikes up this winding path that was going up a mountain through all these trees. But it wasn't difficult, thankfully, riding uphill. It's a dream. It's so beautiful. And I noticed there are these guides that are with us, and they have these very special helmets with some certain lights and different things. And at some point, one of the guides just telepathically is working with me. And it's like, you actually don't have to just pedal. You can just fly, and you can just take off and fly. And I remember, but my then husband was there, and I was like, but I don't want to leave him behind. I don't want to leave him behind. And this is the path that a lot of people travel in consciousness, is this sense of, I don't want to be without my people or my family, or I don't want to just head out on my own. But I couldn't stop it from happening in the dream. I was already lifting off and I was taking off. And so I fly and I land up at the top, and my guide is there, and I'm looking out, and it's like almost an other planet vista. It's so beautiful. The expanse, it's like I could see halfway across the planet. And it's just unbelievably beautiful and expansive. And I look up in the sky, and all of the clouds are actually flowers, but they're cloud-sized flowers that are just sort of continually blossoming in this iridescent, luminous light. And then I see way down far away on this other sort of pinnacle, there's a man with a tripod, and he's photographing some of this. And I'm just watching it going, wow. And then all the other bike riders, eventually, after whatever amount of time, there they are. And we're all looking at the view. And I turned to my guide and I said, I thought I was leaving them behind. And he goes, that's what everybody thinks. It's just needed that you're willing to move on. We never leave anybody behind. But it was like, you have to trust to take your step to fly. No matter what it feels like, nobody gets left behind. That was such a beautiful encouragement for me on the path. Yeah.
What a beautiful dream. Wow. And I think that some people, perhaps they are not so brave, but they could come to you, for example, to get some support and to understand what is really, their inner calling, or what is inside of them that wants to come out and really wants to be expressed, for example.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So how would you bring them through their transformation? And I'm still curious about your singing bowls, because they're so beautiful.
So yes, I use these beautiful bowls in all of the work I do, both in my one-on-one sessions, in my group offerings, because sound makes everything faster and easier. And it's just because of the nature of the vibration, both the sound waves and also the vibration of the crystals and elements that are in the bowls. So these are alchemy singing bowls, and they're made with 100% pure quartz, which then they add special rare earth elements, like it might be Sedona red rock or iron, but then they also add crystals and gemstones like diamond and ruby, or it would have amethyst or citrine, or it would have copper or platinum, 24 karat gold. So they have the vibration of the elements, which then is carried in the sound waves. And what sound does is it automatically quiets the mind. That's the first thing it does. It lets the monkey mind go much more silent and much more quiet, which then means the body is then moved into a brainwave state, typically either alpha, theta, or delta, where it knows, and this is documented, there's greater stem cell generation, there's greater cellular regeneration, there's also an openness of consciousness. So the sound allows people's bodies and minds to do what they naturally do, which is heal, expand, and be free. So it's a great support tool. So those are all for sale, but then I work with them in my work with clients. The other thing that I do in both all my group offerings and in my one-on-ones is energy transmissions. And that's because of that thing we were saying, we can't really solve the problem at the level it's created. So one of my clients, she's a photographer, she said, Christine, I'm really a smart person. I have 3 degrees. I'm intelligent. She goes, half the time you're talking, I don't really know what you're saying, even though I know what you're saying, but I don't, because it's like you've taken this big boulder that's my mind and you've just moved it out of the way so all this beautiful stuff can happen. And I don't know how you do that, but she goes, but it's wonderful because I'm seeing all these changes in my life and it's fantastic, but I don't even know what's happening. It's like, perfect, because we've moved beyond the level of the mind and we're bringing an energy that helps you work with this transformation. And then we bring the mind along with information. I mean, I love the teaching part. I love the opening up, like you were saying, seeing it in a new way, getting a new perspective or perception that gives you new options. So all of that happens in the work that I do. That's what happens. So it's really this combination. I like to call it insight, energy, alchemy, because we're going to talk about the things that you're going to be able to see and understand in a new way, but we're going to totally open those up to help you through energy. And then this alchemy will happen that allows you to have a totally new experience in your life. Not the same old, the thing you actually want. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is so amazing. And I absolutely love the work you're doing. And to support the people really in their moments of transformation and bringing out what they're meant to be here on this planet, and how they can express this, what is inside of them. They're like their genius. And
Yes, you are. Whoever's listening, you, of course, Swanette, and everybody else is so incredibly gifted. There's no way you're not. And you're so incredibly powerful. And you have so much to bring to this world. And if it's just a matter of clearing the interference of that and lining you up in a more direct and resonant way with the truth of what you are, yes, that makes me happier than anything, because everybody benefits. Everybody. First thing that happens is you have a better life. You feel comfortable in your own skin. You feel a sense of ongoing peace and calm and spacious, loving kindness within you. And then the entire world benefits from that. It's just the best. Yeah. And it's what you are already. So let's get there. Let's experience it. Let's not wait. Yeah.
If people are now interested to reach out to you, where can they find you? What are the programs you have? Can you share a little bit about that?
Absolutely. I would love to. Thank you. My website is christinelaria.com. At the bottom of that main page, there's a free masterclass on ending self-judgment once and for all, because I do feel like that's one of the core things that I teach that's so powerful that almost everybody needs, and they know they would like to end it, but they don't know how. So that's there, and you can get that for free. My signature program, which is called The Alchemy of Love, which teaches us and guides us energetically to live as love inside of ourselves. The next round of that begins this October, and it has a lot of beautiful options. You can come into that program and just receive the teaching and a monthly energy transmission and a sound transmission, or you can actually receive coaching in a group setting in that. And I have circles that are for really focusing on the self, the soul, as you said, those people like, what's my purpose and how do I bring that through and how do I connect with that? Or the presence, which is, I'm really ready to move beyond personal identity and my own limited personal self into living as transcendent presence. There's great options there. And of course, I work one-on-one with people, and I like to do that in monthly packages. When you do that, you get a daily energy transmission with a report that goes with it. So I work with my clients we meet, of course, for conversation and mind things and be direct support. But there's this ongoing current of energy support when we work together. So that's powerfully transformational. And those things are all on my website. Yeah. Thank you.
So I will put the link in the show notes so that people easily can reach out to you and find all this amazing stuff, and also the free masterclass, and to start working with you.
Thank you. I appreciate that so much. And I'm very much looking forward to sharing our conversation with my community as well. Yeah.
Last but not least, is there anything that you want to share that I didn't ask you?
Oh, let me just tune in for a moment and see. Yes, so this comes through. This is just that deep word of encouragement, that know that there's a lot of understanding and support for you, knowing that this pathway can be challenging, knowing that you may be tired or weary even with your life in the world or even inside of yourself. Take the long view and stay the course, because there is greater ease and freedom and joy ahead. And it takes a fortified spirit to say, I stay with this path because love, this unconditional love that I am, is so powerful, and I am totally worth it. So this is my little bit of a transmission of encouragement. Yes, you're seen, you're heard, you're acknowledged that sometimes this path, your path, is really difficult. Take a deep breath, stay with it. There is more ease and joy and freedom ahead. Yeah.
Wow. This is super amazing. Thank you so much for these last words, and thank you so much for the interview and being my guest on the show today. Thank you.
You are so welcome. My pleasure and honor to be here. You're amazing. I'm grateful for you. Thank you.
Okay. See you soon.
Bye.
Thank you for listening or watching my podcast, Holistic Creators. If you want to know more about how I can help and support you, have a look at my website, spiritualchangemaker.com. You can also join my Facebook group, Spiritual Changemakers Community. Stay tuned for the next episode by subscribing to this channel. And you also can check the previous episodes.